Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a central double decrease, which is the shaping that you can see here on this ribbing. This is the ribbing detail of the Bonnie sweater, and you can see that it has a mitred dart going here down the centre of one of the knit stitches. And it's called a central double decrease because the stitches are angling in towards the middle to create a kind of bias within the fabric. So I use this on a lot of my knitting patterns, particularly ones that are crop sweaters like Bonnie that have waist darts, and also it pops up in other lace patterns as well, things like the icicle leg warmers here. Just in the centre of this leaf panel you can see that there's a similar vertical ridge running up and down these three leaves of the lace, and that's the same technique in action. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So to prepare, I've got some stitches worked in single ribbing. I've got a stitch marker on a knit stitch, and that's going to be the central stitch in the central double decrease. And what I've done is just work 6 rows of rib, and I'm going to start executing the technique on this row here. So what we do is to knit in rib until we're within about 2 stitches of the marked stitch. So we do knit 1, purl 1 in rib as established. And then 2 stitches away from the marked stitch we have a purl stitch. So that's where we want to be in order to execute the decrease. And the first step, just untangle my yarn, is to slip these 2 stitches, so the purl stitch and the central stitch, the marked stitch. We're going to slip them as if we're going to knit 2 together. So we're going to pass them from the left needle to the right needle, but we're going to orientate them so that they're a bit twisted. So to knit 2 together, we're going to take our right hand needle through the center of the marked stitch first. So you're going to insert it in as if you're going to knit 2 stitches together in the normal way. Once you have the needles in this position, you can then pass these 2 stitches from left to right needle. So once you've done that, you will see that they look twisted on the right hand needle, and that's what we want. We want to twist the stitches over. So that's the first part of the central double decrease. The next thing we need to do is to knit the remaining stitch. So this is going to be the purl stitch that is on the far side of our marked stitch, which is knit. So we knit this purl stitch, and that's the next step. So all the 3 stitches that we need to involve in this technique are now on the right hand needle. From here, we now need to pass the 2 slipped stitches over this stitch we've just knitted and off the end of the right hand needle. So insert your left needle into these 2 stitches exactly as they are, and then carefully lift them over the top of that last stitch and then off the end of your right hand needle, and that's the decrease complete. So you can see there that the 2 purl stitches either side appear to have gone into the center. We've got that angle orientation that we saw on the Bonnie sweater a few minutes ago. So from here we can just go to the end of the row, completing our ribbing pattern as established. And once we get to the end, I'll show you what we're left with. Okay, so what you can see here is that we now have a group of 3 knit stitches adjacent. We had the purl stitches before either side, and now they're completely gone. So that's the beginning of that mitred shape. That knit stitch in the center that has the marker on it is still there. We haven't lost it in any way, and that's the central double decrease. So I'm going to repeat the technique one more time. I'm just going to do the return row, and then I'll execute the technique again just so that you can see the entire repeat of the mitred detail on the ribbing. So I'll just turn over and start the next row. So again, note on the return row that the position of the decrease means that you will not have knit one, purl one as established consistently. Because we've got those 3 knit stitches in a row from where we executed the central double decrease, you'll have to watch out when you get to it. You'll have the stitch marker to help you out anyway. But if I just pause here and then show you, you can see just beneath my finger that we've got 3 purl stitches in a row, and that's another way to help you find the position of the decrease when you're working from the wrong side. So just in case, depending on what type of stitch marker you're using, you can't see it, this is how you know. So I'm just going to purl those 3 stitches, and then I can resume knit one, purl one ribbing as usual. Okay, so that next row is done, and you can see again, having done that return row, how the work is starting to look. You can see the incline a bit more into the center. So I'm just going to work that decrease one more time just so you can see it again. And on this second part, the rib will reset, so we won't have 3 purl stitches on the wrong side or 3 stitches adjacent on the knit side. It will go back to being knit one, purl one ribbing because of how the pattern works. So I'm just going to work in rib, and it's the same thing as before. We're working to within 1 stitch of the marked stitch, and so I'm going to stop here, and in this case it's going to be a knit stitch immediately before, not a purl stitch as we had previously. But other than that, the technique is exactly the same. Don't be bothered by the appearance of the stitches. We just need to take the right needle, put the needle into the marked stitch first, so into the marked stitch, we're going into it from the left as if to knit 2 together, and then we're going to slip it from left to right needle. So the left needle comes out, right needle stays involved, and the stitches are still twisted as they were a few minutes ago when I did the first demonstration of the technique. We now need to knit the remaining adjacent stitch, so we're going to knit that adjacent stitch, and then we're going to grab the 2 slipped stitches and lift them over the top of that stitch we've just knitted and off the end of the right hand needle, and then that's the decrease done again. So I'm just going to complete the row just so you can see the dart taking shape. Okay. All right, so that's the technique. We've got a central double decrease, so you can see the mitering happening, and you can see that the row is now regular and reset. We've got knit one, purl one, knit one, purl one, all again. So after you've done 2 passes of the central double decrease, you'll be able to see the pattern forming. But the key to this decrease is in how you slip the 2 stitches. It's important that they're twisted round, so that you're taking the 2 both at a time as if you're going to execute a regular knit 2 together, because that helps the knit stitch to stay on top. Yes, thank you, and I hope this was helpful to you. Bye-bye.